being a guest on the Rise to Reign podcast.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Amy, when I met you, I don't know, like a year and a half ago, like we said one day, like you're going to be, the world needs more Amy. And we had a random conversation and girl, here we are. Like, this is so exciting.
Here we are. I am so excited. And I have to tell you, you were my first celebrity guest expert interview. And it couldn't be more appropriate because you have been so instrumental in getting me where I am right now and being able to not only share the message with the world, but know actually what that message is and be able to articulate it clearly and have the means to. So backing up, I went all fangirl for just a second.
I love it.
I want to introduce you to my audience. Rory's a New York Times bestselling author and a Hall of Fame speaker and just an all-around incredible human being. He's a wife to AJ. He has 2 beautiful baby boys. And
I'm the husband to AJ.
Sorry, you're right. Yes, thank you. He's the husband to AJ and has 2 beautiful baby boys, well, a toddler and a baby boy. And you have a new venture that you have launched out into the world and one that I have been the happy recipient of your services. So I'm excited to share that with my audience because I feel like the time in the world right now it's such a great convergence because we're sort of moving. I mean, we've been in the information age for a while, but we're moving to that decentralization where really anybody can get their message and get their words out into the world. And Rise to Reign is all about helping women rise to their rightful place of influence in the world. And so that is really what you do, is you help people clarify their message and have the way to get it out into the world. But rather than me telling people what you do, why don't you tell people what you do?
No, well, I mean, that's great. I think for us, we have a heart for mission-driven messengers, right? We love and believe in the people who feel called because I believe that if you're feeling called to share a message, it's because somebody out there is praying at the exact moment for the message that you are being prompted to share. I literally believe that is how it's like a calling works is you are the answer to somebody's question. You are the solution to somebody's problem. But mission-driven messengers really struggle to know, to what question am I the answer? To what problem am I the solution? They really struggle with getting clear on their positioning and what their brand is all about. And so Brand Builders Groups helps people to build and monetize their personal brand. And it's one of the fundamental premises of what we do actually came from one of my mentors. This was a guy named Larry Winget. And he said, and I say mentors, it was like a CD program that I heard him say this on.
That counts.
It was my mentor. It was my
90%
mentor.
of what my mentors are.
But he said, the real goal of any personal brand is to find your uniqueness so that you can exploit it in the service of others.
I love that.
Find your uniqueness so you can exploit it in the service of others. And Larry's a great speaker. He's a great author, but he didn't really teach people how to do this. That was just like a thing he said. And this was kind of like a side training that he did. And I thought, as soon as I heard that, man, that is so brilliant. But the thing was, he didn't talk about how to find your uniqueness.
Don't you love that? Like, that's like the Instagram meme world that we live in. It's like, find your tribe and love them hard. And you're like, okay. That sounds good. But
that sounds good. Yeah. That sounds
how do
great.
I do that?
Yeah. Be positive every day. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that could be good.
Yeah. So, but you have actually created this entire company around the how.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
like you mentioned AJ. So AJ's actually the CEO. She is my wife. She's also my business partner. We actually were business partners for 12 years in a former endeavor, and we started that company as business partners, and then started dating after we started a business. Then we got married. Then we exited that business, and then we started Brand Builders Group. So she's the CEO. So sugar mama. That's all I'm saying. Um, but yeah, during the course of time, we've worked to build. I've always been sort of like the face, and but we, through the help of a number of mentors and a lot of education, a lot of trial and error, we basically figured out a systematic process to help someone find their uniqueness. We call it the brand DNA helix. It's sort of the signature framework of our phase one experience. And it's this beautiful intersection of who you've been your entire life. Like your past leaves a lot of clues, as does your future.
I'd like to interject something right there, because Rise to Reign
Sure.
as a brand in our offerings is really a big thrust of what it is emotional healing. It's to
Mm.
help women rise to influence and leadership. But in order to do that, you have to face inward and heal the wounds and patterns that you have that will cause you to fail in leadership or not get to leadership because of various things like self-sabotage and unworthiness and the beliefs and things that you carry. So one of the things that is so profound for me as I watch women break through those barriers and release those limiting beliefs is that the thing that they struggle in the most is also the area that they are called to influence in.
Mm.
And so like that brokenness comes, and sometimes, horrible trauma and suffering, and sometimes just
Oh yeah.
life, but always just life. But sometimes trauma and suffering, that area is the area that they're called to get authority in, so that they can turn around and pass that authority back down the line and help release other people from that darkness or that prison that they went through. And so that's one of the reasons why the brand DNA kit is so powerful to me. I mean, it is literally powerful to me because it has informed how we speak about our brand and really knowing what it is that we're here to do. But it's also just a powerful tool or a diagnostic to be able to really see your past in the light of meaning and have that breakthrough in itself of, oh, I went through all of this for a reason, and now it's going
Mm.
to do good for the world. So I just wanted to point out how profound that's been for me, and how I feel like it's profound for anyone that engages with it.
Well, I love that, and I think one of the things that we say. So in phase one, we've got 9 phases, but in phase one, there's 4 things you have to get clear on, and one of the 4 is exactly who is your brand serving. And one of the things we say a lot around that is that you're most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were.
So
you
true.
you're most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were, which, by the way, is what we're doing, right? Like for me, I was in 6th grade the first time that I saw a speaker, and had the thought, wow, like how could you do that? Like what would it take to become this person? And then one thing led to the next, and then I was in direct sales for a while, and for a long time, and then just I remember sitting in the audience looking at a stage saying, how do you get to be that person? And then I still remember very vividly walking through the airport, looking at books on the shelf saying, how do you become a New York Times bestselling author? Like, what would that take? And then listening to podcasts and entrepreneurs. And so, we serve speakers, authors, entrepreneurs, like direct sales people, anybody really who is like truly a leader, like an influencer. And that's why I think,
Or a potential
yeah,
one.
potential.
Yeah.
Yeah. Potential. And I think I've been so drawn to the Rise to Reign brand and message all along because I think, first of all, I think the work you do is so magnificent and powerful. I think that your frameworks and the structure, the psychology, and the healing, like the experience you're taking people through, I think is transformative. And I can't wait. I feel lucky. Like I feel like we get to be on the front row seat of seeing like the world get exposed to this methodology that you're creating and have created. And so the concept of rising to reign means so many things, but as a leader, particularly a female leader, there's a lot you have to go through to reign. There's a lot you have to heal in your past, and there's a lot that you have to become. And so, I love that. I'm inspired by that.
Thank you so much for saying that, Rory. And your belief is one of the things that has inspired me to actually take it to the streets. You have this dream. So many people, I myself included, have this dream that you just don't know if it has any real merit, and maybe you don't even know, it's a little foggy and fuzzy in your mind. You know what this is like.
Yeah.
And I speak to so many women who are like that. Like they feel the call to heal and to help and to serve and to contribute and to make the world a better place. But it's hard when you're in it to make sense of it, of what it actually is, and how to articulate it, how to communicate it, that message. And your belief in what I'm doing and my idea has really given me the confidence to say, okay, this can fly. Like this, people need this. This can grow legs and run. And not only that, but I always say with clarity comes confidence. When you want to communicate a message, you need to know really clearly what that message is. And so inside the brand DNA, which is your phase 1, inside the brand DNA, you really walk through a process, because so many of us are multi-passionate entrepreneurs, right?
Right.
Like, I want to heal the world, but I'm also passionate about doing that physically and emotionally and mentally and spiritually and all the things. And so you have this concept of Sheehans Wall. Would you be willing to explain that to our listeners?
Yeah, we should definitely talk about Sheehans Wall. So one thing before we get into Sheehans Wall that you said that I think is really important. I totally believe in you. I believed in you the first moment that we started talking. Like I immediately, not to mention that I knew, there was like a room of people that we were sitting with, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm in doTERRA, and you're like, I'm this diamond, and no one knew what that meant. But being in the world of direct sales, I was like, oh hell yeah, she's a baller. Like I know exactly.
It takes one to know one. If you've built a direct sales business,
it's
no
you don't get to that level, and plus we love doTERRA and have lots of friends. I've spoken for some of the groups there, but I think so. I definitely believe in you. And I also agree with what you said, that clarity makes a big difference, and Brand Builders does that. We have a really systematic process for helping people realize the dream. But the thing I wanted to highlight is that what gives me belief is not just that you're amazing. It's that I can see so clearly how many people are struggling with the problem that you solve. So the part of the belief comes not from focusing on the messenger, but the audience.
Yes.
And that's why it's like, as you get clear about the problem, you start to see the problem in the world, and you go, holy moly, this is a huge problem. Yes. And if you can help the messenger get clear on that. And so I think women do this, at the risk of a generalization, I think women do this more than men, that they judge themselves. They feel called to this dream, and they immediately go, yeah, I don't know if that would work. I don't know if anybody would want that. I don't know
really,
if I'm
at the core of it is, I don't know if I'm good enough.
Exactly.
Because you can have, speaking from personal experience, you can have all the confidence in the world that the problem exists and what you have to solve it has merit. But then when it looks to you as the messenger, then that's where all the unworthiness and the self judgment comes in. And that's a big part of what we help heal.
Well, and that's what yeah. And one of the things, you know, we say this around too, is that you only feel that you never feel fear when the mission to serve is clear. You only feel fear when you're thinking about yourself. Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Is anyone going to care about this? All of that crap is totally self-centered. Like,
so
who cares if it's accurate? Okay. Like, it doesn't even matter if it's accurate. It's just self-centered. It's all revolving around you. The moment you break free of that, and you just think about the audience, and you just think about, what is Laura feeling? Not what am I feeling, but what is Laura feeling, and can I help her? That changes everything. So you don't feel that fear when you're focused on serving. You only feel that fear when you're thinking about yourself, and you gotta break outside of that.
It's so good. And there's a term that you coined that my team uses all the time. It's goosies, when you get the, you know, like the God bumps, the goosebumps. And I have them all over right now, because that is such a critical transition. It's such a critical transformation. It's like the plane in the turbulence, like when you're taking off and it's all foggy and everything's bumpy and it's rattling. And then you come up above the clouds and the sun is shining and the air is clear and it's so smooth. And that's exactly what it's like, is when you're in that turbulence and that fear and the self-doubt and the self-sabotage. It's all about you. It's about your own significance and answering the question, am I good enough? Do I matter? Does what I have, are people going to like it? You know, are they going to like it? Are they going to consume it? And that it's absolute misery. It's misery. And
I think
it's not, and your audience feels that too. Wouldn't you agree with that? Like,
because there's the total energy. And here's the great irony, right? Is like, the more we question ourselves, the more it's like this negative spiral, because it's like, people don't care about when you're caring about yourself. They care about when you're caring about them. Like, they start to show up. And the ironic thing about this is, like, when we go, like, you know, does my life matter? It's like, the more that you are in isolation, the less that your life matters. The more that you're in connection, the more that you're in service, the more that you are serving your audience. It's like, it is through the act of serving that gives our life significance. It's through the act of helping that gives our existence, like, life and value, and it fills us up. And so, you know, isolation is one of the worst things you can do.
And in the meantime, when you're in this spiral of self-doubt, the people who are praying for the message that you're anointed to give are going without the message. You know, they're still suffering. They're still in the darkness. They're still in the prison.
Your self-doubt is selfish, because your self-doubt is preventing you from showing up for the person that needs you most desperately. That person needs you more than you need. Like, that person needs you more than you need to feel confident. But we're so trapped in our own crap that we can't get outside of that. And so you have these two people living in isolation, the calling and the messenger, and they're not connecting.
And you connect them, which is what's so, well, you equip the messenger to forge the connection, which is
we try to.
You do an amazing job of that. And I am proof positive of what it does inside of yourself when you prepare. And this is, we like your book. We love your book, Take the Stairs. It's a staple among my team and in my doTERRA business, because it's really about taking responsibility and preparing to win, and not just wanting it, not just wishing for it, but actually what you have to do to prepare yourself. And the work with brand builders does that. It gives you the framework or the structure to be able to prepare, so that then you walk out into the world, onto a podcast, a blog, a brand with confidence because you've done the preparation that you need to do.
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it. I think the work that people do with us with their personal brand is similar to like the work that an athlete would do in the gym
Yes.
before they step out onto the field. I've never thought about that parallel before, but you know, and it is a discipline, and that, you know, my first book, Take the Stairs, was all about self-discipline, and building a great personal brand is a tremendous discipline. It kind of leads us back to Sheehans Wall. What most people don't have the discipline to do is focus.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they do is they launch a brand and they talk about everything. It's like food and nutrition and relationships and fashion and success and happiness and marriage and kids and, you know, and like sales and leadership and teamwork and change management. And it's like they talk about all these different things. And then they'll choose all these different audiences. Like, oh, I want to talk to stay-at-home moms, and I want to talk to CEOs, and I want to talk to salespeople, and I want to talk to like fitness people. And they have like all these audiences. And then they like watch a webinar, you know, like they go online and you see all these ads for all these ways to make money. And you're like, oh my gosh, I need to launch a coaching program. And then the next webinar we watch is like, gosh, you need to launch a video course. No, keynote speaking. No, you should write a book. No, you should be a consultant. No, you should create a software as a service.
These remarks.
And so there's all of these different markets. There's different markets to serve. There's different models, business models that we dilute ourselves with, and there's different messages that we start to pursue, and everything dilutes. And when you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. It's as simple as that.
You wrote in your book, Multiply, well, it's Procrastinate on Purpose.
Procrastinate on Purpose.
You wish it was Multiply Your
Multiply Your Time. Yes, it should have been called Multiply Your Time.
Yeah, so it's Procrastinate on Purpose, an unfortunate title. I love that story because you allowed us to learn from
the mistake of mistitling our second book. Yeah.
Yes.
We should have called it How to Multiply Time, which is what the TED Talk was called, but we called it Procrastinate on Purpose. So longer story for
nobody's buying procrastination apparently. So
yeah.
But it's a great book. And one of the things that you mentioned in there is that is it priority dilution? I want to make sure that I represent your words well. Priority dilution is a way of sabotaging yourself as a leader, as an influencer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what priority dilution does is it allows us to accomplish a large number of insignificant or trivial things, which, speaking to the neuroscience of your brain, like every time you delete an email or you cross something off your to-do list, you actually you get a hit of dopamine.
Yeah.
And we are addicted to achieving a large volume of insignificant activities, the same way that you'd be addicted to any substance because it makes you feel a certain way.
Right.
But multipliers, know that success isn't related to the volume of tasks that we complete, but just to the significance of them. And there are certain ones that multiply time, that multiply results. They're the big activities that really move us forward. And so priority dilution is this problem. And we talk about, that book is more of a time management book, but it's conceptually the same problem that brands have, is they're so diluted with different directions that they can't explain in one sentence who the heck they are. And if you can't tell someone in 8 words or less what it is that you do, there's no way they're ever going to have the time to learn and buy from you. So you're just losing money, and you need, and this is coming back to phase 1. And so to use Sheehans Wall, when you have dilution, you're bouncing off the wall. And so Sheehans Wall comes from a gentleman named Peter Sheehan, which was somebody who influenced me. He was the person I originally saw kind of model this framework, is that, there's a wall, and on one side of the wall are people who are like unknown, they're lesser known in their industry or their space. And we're trying to break through the wall to become like the thought leader, or the leader, or the influencer, the recognizable person in our space. And we bounce off the wall because we have all of this dilution. And the real way you break through the wall is to focus your message, focus the audience you're serving, focus the business model you're using to where you become known as the person on one thing, and you break through the wall on this one thing. And then once you're on the other side of the wall, you could do all sorts of stuff, right? Like once you're Oprah, once you're Oprah or Tony Robbins or Gary Vaynerchuk, and that's why I think it leads people astray a lot, is because they look and they go, "Oh, I want to be Oprah. I want to, I want to be Sarah Blakely. I want to be Tony Robbins. I want to be Gary Vaynerchuk. I want to be these huge influencers." But it's like what they never saw was the work to get through the wall. And that's, I think, what Brand Builder says is like, hey, let us tell you the real story about how this happens. And here's the exercises to find your own uniqueness and figure out what your path should be so that you can break through the wall.
It's so, it's a value beyond words, what you do. I got to tell you that from personal experience, because when we did the exercise and we went through the brand DNA, you ask a series of questions, and your team is really
that's all questions,
is in like teasing that out. Because I remember when I met you, we were at the National Speakers Association conference. And so the big question there is, it's not what do you do, it's what do you speak on?
What do you speak on?
So I got asked that, this was like you said, 1.5 years ago, I got asked that a full, dozen or 24 times. And I'm like, well, depends, and I realized I stumbled so badly when answering that question that when I saw you present, I was like, I need this in my life. I need to get clarity here. And when I went and did the work with you, it wasn't like you're just like, okay, what do you speak on? And then I tell you and you write it out, and that's what it is. You actually have a formula that you go through and you sort of tease it out. And I was surprised by what came out of that meeting. It was different than what I would have thought it was. Even though I lacked clarity, it was different than what I thought it was.
Yeah. So that process is, the brand DNA Helix is effectively these 6 questions that we ask. And it's interesting because it is systematic, like it's a process, but it's not a perfectly straight line. And actually, each of these 6 questions, we kind of brainstorm all of these answers to. And then what we're looking for is what we call thematic overlap. We're looking for this thematic overlap for the through line of your life. And we believe that everything you've ever done, everything you've ever been, there's a reason why you did it, even if it were subconscious. And also, everything you feel called to do is also an indicator of what your uniqueness is. So at the intersection of what you've done and what you feel called to do, that's part of where the uniqueness lies. Also, at the intersection of between who you want to be and who the world needs you to be, at that intersection is a part of where your uniqueness lies. And so we have a process, but it's not like a formula where everyone cranks through and comes out with the same answer. The answer is different. Every single person we work with, it's completely different. It's their uniqueness that we're uncovering it. It's really exploration, and we do it together, right? Like we're facilitating a process of these conversations. And what you find is so beautiful, and you find all these stories, like, all these amazing stories, like, you sharing the stories about this heartbreak that you've had, and you reconciling old relationships, and just, everything from that to healing yourself physically and how that led into doTERRA. But you have this, this calling to, help females and to become leaders and have more female leaders in the world. It's just it's like an art. Like it's weird. Because it's both a science, but really it's an art.
Yes. And it's, like I said, it provides a value beyond measure, because when you're in it, you can't see it, or I couldn't anyway. I'll speak for myself. And I think that this is a pretty widespread problem, as evidenced by the fact that, Brand Builders is here to solve that problem, is that when you're in the cloud of confusion. You can't see it. And so you tell the stories, you answer the questions, and brand builders' expert eyes kind of know what they're looking for, and they pick those touch points out and make it into something very coherent.
And let me just give an example, you know, for those of you listening. So like the first of the 6 questions is really, what problem do you solve? So as an example, a super simple question, right? Like, what problem do you solve? And then we have all these criteria that it has to be. Like, it has to be one word. It has to be a real problem. Like, you know, it can't be self-confidence. Self-confidence isn't a problem. Self-doubt is a problem, or unworthiness is a problem, or self-consciousness, or, you know, there's other problems, and there's all these criteria. But for most people, it's so, the genesis of a personal brand is being able to answer that question in one word. What problem do you solve? And until that is so important, because your entire personal brand like emanates from and revolves around the clarity to the answer to that question. You orient your entire brand around that question, and the clearer you are on it, the once you're clear about a problem, like this is an old quote. This isn't a Rory Vaden quote. I don't even know who said this. I think it's one of the unknowns, but it's like a problem well defined is half solved.
Mm-hmm.
With a personal brand, as soon as you identify what the problem is you solve, all of the people with that problem start showing up, and you start focusing in a deeper way on that one problem. And that's where true thought leadership happens, because you're actually forwarding the thinking that's been done on solving this problem, because it's the only thing you're focused on. It's the only thing you're thinking about. So you're going deeper instead of going wider. But, you know, people struggle with answering, what problem do I solve? Or there's, you know, and it's the process is we brainstorm them with you, and then it's like narrowing it down to the one.
Totally. And the interesting thing for me is, you know, we met at the speakers conference in the summer, and then we were in contact, and then I heard you on a podcast explaining this Sheehans Wall and the problem that you solve, and immediately I reached out to you. But I also, when I came in to do this work, I was like, no problem. I know the problem that I solve. Like, skip that question, go to the next thing, because I know what problem that I solve, and it's powerlessness. And, you know, it didn't end up being powerlessness, because through this process, I got a deeper layer of clarity about what causes powerlessness. And so it's a type of root cause analysis to get down to what is really at the bottom of this thing that you feel called to solve. And for me, it was blame. So, and that was brand new to me, you know, it was brand new information. And the message that came out for my brand is take back your power and live life without limits. Well, how do you take back your power? It's by stopping blaming, like committing to live without blame. And so that to me has been so unbelievably amazing. And so I thank you for the work that you've done to help me get clear there.
And so that blame, right? Like, now that once you get clear on it, you start to see it everywhere in the world.
100%.
Right? Now you see, I'm actually trying to pull up something here to reference, but you actually, it becomes obvious and apparent to you everywhere that you look.
Totally.
Where this is happening and where this is showing up.
Not only that, Rory, but I have this app. It's called Day One, and I journal every day of my life. I don't miss it. And every day it brings up my last journals through the years on that day. And so if I have time, I'll go through and I'll read my journals from a year ago, 2 years ago, on December 7th or whatever that day is. And you would not believe, I don't think I've even shared this with you, but you would not believe the amount that I talk about blame in my journals and in, you know, just my writings and my own process. And it's just like, wow, it was there all along. But it took that process that I believe, is even divinely downloaded, the brand that you have, that you go through with brand builders, to actually bring that out and to be open into the light of consciousness, conscious awareness.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that you do is you help women elevate their identity, right? Like, well, not elevate, it's like restore to their natural, identity. And blame is one of the weakest identities we can have. It's
Victim.
completely, victim mentality, the sort of slave girl of relinquishing all power, all control of my life to somebody else. Like, everything that happens is all external, and I'm the poor, helpless victim of everything, versus I am, able to influence everything.
Yeah.
And
And so you helped me see that, and you helped give that a level of clarity that that I'm changed, and I'm so excited for the work that I'm doing, and I know exactly what the work that I'm doing is, which is always helpful. And that's because of the work that I did with you and your team, and I'm grateful. I really am grateful. So thank
well,
you.
I appreciate that. We are so grateful for you. You, as you know, you were one of our earlier clients with the new enterprise. So, in some ways, you've been a guinea pig for certain things that we've been testing stuff out on, and that's like you, to be a pioneer and to go first, and to just, be willing to forge through it. And I think that's important, for you listening, is to know you don't have to see it all clearly right now. But what you do have to do is you do have to have the courage to start taking the steps. Um, and even if you don't, when you talk about courage, I'm reminded of this story, actually, all the way back from my first book, Take the Stairs, about this woman in a burning building. And she's both afraid of heights, and she's claustrophobic. And so she's like on the 70th floor of this building that's burning down, and everyone's running down the stairwell, and she can't do it because she's so claustrophobic. She's afraid of the stairwell. And it's like she's as afraid of being in a small stairwell as she is of burning to death in a burning building. And, this fireman comes up, he comes up and he finds her, and he's like, "What are you doing? Like, get out of here. Like, this building is burning down." And she says, "I can't do it. Like, I'm too scared. Like, I'm scared." And he says to her, "That's fine. Like, it's fine to be scared. Do it scared.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be scared. Do it scared. It's okay to be unclear. Do it unclear."
Yes.
Like, the steps become clear as you walk down the path. But it's even though the steps aren't always clear, oftentimes the calling is. One of the things you use that really affected me from your content is about the frequency and signals. It's crazy because it's like, the universe or God, whatever you want to call it. I call it God. Like, I'm a Jesus freak. But
Me too.
so that, for me personally, but whatever you want to call it, even though we don't see the path clearly, it's almost like that calling can be really, really clear. Now, we try to like block it and cover it up, but it's like, it's always there. Like, it's tugging on your heart. It's pulling you. And it's crazy how clear the calling can be.
Yeah.
And it just takes, you have to have the courage to follow your calling.
Yes. And let it develop as you walk the path, because it always will. And so I love the analogy that you used about the burning building, because in many ways our world is on fire. There are a lot of people hurting. There's a lot of darkness, and there's a lot of need. And so in a way, with that analogy, it works, because there are problems that need solutions. And one of the things I always tell the women that I work with is that you don't have the solution, you are the solution. You don't have the medicine, you are the medicine. And so that is why I love your work, Rory, because you teach us how to get clear on what what it is that we solve and how to actually bring that forward. And that is an incredible service to humanity, myself included. So I could talk to you all day. I really could, but I want to be respectful of your time because I know you have a lot going on. So his book is Take the Stairs and Procrastinate on Purpose. There's also a TED Talk with millions of views for multiply your time.
How to multiply time.
How to multiply time. And if you would like to have a free strategy session, this is a offer that Rory is making for our audience on the Rise to Reign podcast. If you'd like to have a free strategy session with brand builders, you can go to brandbuildersgroup.com/reign and have a free strategy session.
REIGN, of course.
Thank you. REIGN, like Rise to Reign. And Rory, can you just real quick let us know what they would get on the strategy session?
Yeah, so we call Brand Strategy Call. You request a free one at brandbuildersgroup.com/reign. What'll happen is there's a few questions you'll fill out. We'll assign it to one of our strategists. And then that, kind of that first call we do completely free. What we're going to do is do an intake of what is your dream? Like what can you see? Because there's some things you won't be able to see, but there's probably something you can see. And then we're going to want to understand, like, how far are you along in the journey? And then based on whatever you share with us, our team will introduce a couple of frameworks, and we'll start, we'll teach you and usually draw out or show you some of our frameworks and start introducing you to the process and give you some action items. And then, by that point, it'll become clear to you that maybe we can help you. And if we can, we'll talk about how. And we work with all different levels, right? Like we have celebrity TV clients that are like on, Shark Tank. And then, we have people that are like working at their corporate job, and this is the very first time they've ever thought about doing this, and they don't even like know what to do. So we do that, or we'll, if we're not the right match, we'll, help you in whatever way we can. We'll point you in the right direction. But I think a lot of it is just helping you get clear on that clear on your calling, and see if we can help you, polish that up a bit.
I love it. And on behalf of all of the people that I'm called to serve, and on behalf of myself and my team, with the deepest gratitude, thank you.
Oh, well, I received that warmth. I love you and Fiona and your whole team. You guys are amazing. I'm telling you, those of you that are listening to this, mark this date, literally mark this date and watch what happens in 10 years from this date with this brand, Rise to Reign, and with Amy and the community. And you might be listening by yourself, but there's a good chance that your life is going to change. You're going to end up being in a room with other women, with Amy and her team, that your life is going to change. I'm telling you, you, like me, you have a front row seat to something that is going to truly transform the world. So, we're all excited to be here, and we're cheering for y'all. So keep helping people live their highest selves.
Wow. Thank you, Rory. And I couldn't have done it without you. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. All the best.
Bye-bye.